Welcome to Mysterious Goings On. We're going to get right to the show after these messages. This episode is brought to you by Spotify and Anchor, your source for the best in music, podcasts, and more. You can also be someone who helps bring more to your life with Mysterious Goings On by being a listener supporter. Please click on the link in our show notes and you will be offered 3 tiers for support. We have a 99-cent per month tier, $4.99 per month, and $9.99 per month. You can buy it with Google Pay or use with a credit card instead. This helps keep the show going. I could use your support if you really enjoy Mysterious Goings On, and lots of you have since 2016. We'd love to keep going, and some listener support like you would be very, very helpful to me and keeping the show moving right along there. So, as I always say, at the end of every show, keep reading, but also keep listening, and please consider supporting Mysterious Goings On. You know, the modern detective story has its roots in so many places. But one thing about it that I'm not familiar with, though, is how detective fiction could actually be, for the thoughtful person, a tool for social analysis. Okay. And I don't even know where to begin with that. That's why I'm very glad we have an author who's written detective fiction, among other things. And her name is Maria Marotti, and she is a full-time fiction writer, retired academic, and alternative health practitioner. She's the author of a mystery series and some humorous animal memoirs. And I'm just ready to get schooled by you, Maria. Welcome to Mysterious Goings On.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So let's jump right in, though. It's obvious that you're from Texas.
No, I'm not. It's my first mistake. The social analysis there had a hole.
I had to do it. I had to. You're, as we said, where I grew up in Oklahoma. You're not from around here, are you? So where are you from? Tell us a little bit about you, real quick.
Okay, real quick. I'm an immigrant. Let's start with that one. Not from Afghanistan or Syria. Ooh. No, I'm from Italy. I came with a Fulbright scholarship because I completed my studies there on Mark Twain, actually, and there's a whole 25, 30 years of being an academic and in some form or another. And so I wrote a lot of literary criticism. The book on Mark Twain and his posthumously published work. And then I worked on women's studies a lot, on several genres like autobiography, and organized meetings with colleagues and I put together everything and published 3 books actually on this different subjects. And then after a while, I got really tired of academia, and there comes the analysis, the social analysis, the little society that academia is. I don't know if you have ever seen The Chair, the Netflix series, 6 series. It's very interesting. And a colleague who has known me for a while, former colleague, called me and said, "Hey, our story is there." And I looked at it and I said, "Yes, but it's much, much less, pungent and strong than what reality was like for us." So that's one thing. I found myself in a, and I know for many people it's true, in a work, little society, which was quite dysfunctional from a human point of view and from a social point of view, where all the injustices of the world were discussed and denounced, but then they were perpetrated and continued in so many ways within the little circle of academia. So at some point, as I realized that I had enough of that, I needed to move on to something else. So I became healer or some sort. I mean, I loosely use this term. I help people through hypnosis to stop smoking. Very successful with that, and I loved it. And then breath work and past life regressions and anxiety and all sorts of Reiki. And I did everything for quite a few years, more than 2 decades. And then eventually I retired, and now I only write, and that's it. And write fiction. Now, years ago, going back to when I separated from academia, and I said to myself, this is a very dysfunctional society. It would be good in a to use it in a detective novel. And so why that? Because the detective has to, in a sense, explore the environment where the crime happened in order to discover who did it. Right. And
Right.
I decided to choose a detective who is quite open-minded, and it finds himself by chance into the academic world. This is my first one of the series that is A Question of Class, where I play with the word class, the classroom and the class, the social class. And then he starts looking around and asking questions, and so why is that so? Why is that? Wow, that could create a crime, and so on. And so he needs to explore deeply how does this world work, or not? Why is it dysfunctional and still works? And can it create a crime? Yes, it can. So it is. And where am I looking? It's pointed in one direction, but he has gut feelings to say, no, that's the wrong one. And then he finds eventually who did it. So, and the various people who did it, there was in that case, a series of people that somehow found themselves in this crime. So that's how I see it. It's a great tool because the detective has to discover the society, understand the society, otherwise it cannot. So if he's open-minded enough, and a good detective has to be, then it will discover many things about the society. The second book, the one that I published recently, the first one, by the way, is going to be republished in a month. So it's going to come out in a month. But the second one came out last year, but not last year, but 7 months ago. So that's also, so the second one, the Etruscan Princess. Well, it's a much wider society. He's on vacation in Italy, of all places. Of course, a place I know very well because, yes, I'm not from Texas. I'm from Rome. And
much better,
yes, more pleasant. And then I abortion is still allowed. Oops. Hot topic.
I think we're on the same page there. Pardon the pun. I think we are. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that's and he's there with his fiance. And he has plans of proposing again, convince her to marry him, and all sorts of things like that, having a romantic thing, which he partly achieves that by some strange way. But the thing is, basically, they get both of them get involved into this kidnapping that happens in chapter 1, and a young woman is kidnapped, and they see it right in front of them. They cannot do anything about it because they are on top of a bridge and she's at the bottom. So they can't do anything about that. But they do everything they can to find her, and they eventually do. So that's in order to understand who did it, who kidnapped her, and why. He has to kind of know better the victim, but also to know better the society that's produced that crime. So that's one thing. So the traveling is partly that too.
So the character is Captain Fusco, correct?
Yes.
Now, is he he's not Italian though, he's an American.
He's an Italian American. Yes, maybe his grandparents came from some parts of Italy, some southern Italy. Yes.
In this book, had he ever been to Italy before?
Briefly, just briefly. He had been briefly with his previous wife and had died of cancer. And so he took her there because she wanted to do that before she had chemo. And yeah, but that was many years before, quite a few years before, and it was just a trip, a pleasure trip, or anyway, a trip of just vacation. Now it's longer. It's a month. He has a whole month, and his fiance is Italian. So they and she works in the States. So she's an academic, but yes. So some of the themes of the previous one are continued, and some of the same characters keep on going in the second, and they will be in the third that I'm writing now. So that's all like this. It's a series that I'm working on.
Is there, and I'm only saying this to provide context for folks listening who haven't read your book yet. Right. Is there an analogous character in detective fiction that you could kind of point to and say, he or she did the same kind of thing, if that makes sense? I don't mean that your book is like a copy. I just mean, is there another detective who's kind of immersed himself and learned about the society to solve the crime?
I think they all do to some extent. On the other hand, I want to say that one that has been inspiring for me, and maybe most American readers are not totally familiar, is the character of Montalbano in the Camilleri series. Camilleri wrote tons of books, all in his old age. He's an inspiration for me. He retired and he started writing, and he wrote like hundreds of books. And he was the best-selling author in Italy for, 20 years. And then he died, but at very old age. So no problem there. But yeah, it was not a crime. One of his characters turned around and finished him off. No, not really. Well, okay. So I have a weaker sense of humor, but no, it's. But anyway, the thing is, he was a real inspiration because he really studied and tried to understand, and he knew very well Sicilian society, where the crimes were happening, and society is very alive there, very, very alive in his books. So that was an inspiration. Another inspiration is the British writer Ruth Rendell. Okay, she works a lot with the society, she has a great sense of the merits and problems of British society, and she really digs in and brings them out very, fearlessly. So that's. However, the detective there is not an inspiration for me. It's much more tamer than Captain Fusco, who is younger and it's more this generation. He's in his 40s, and so it's probably Montalbano is closer to him in a sense. Also, he likes to eat. He introduces a certain cozy element there. I like to cook, and I know lots of good recipes. So here and there, I sprinkle the food, and.
I like that. I love it when authors do that. I enjoy doing that here and there myself. I don't do it a lot, but when I do, it's heartfelt. I love that.
Yeah. Lots of us like to eat and cook, so interesting, and makes the characters more human, more, and it gives us something there, some sense of humor and pleasure, and the physical part. The physical creates the physicality there, right. Which is important.
And I am not a tremendously big Agatha Christie fan, but I do love Hercule Poirot. And I wanted to bring him up in this context simply because it seems that now he's what is he, Belgian, I believe, but he is usually a stranger in a strange land. Like if you think about Orient Express, Death on the Nile, right. He's out of his element, and he's totally. but he's typically surrounded by people from all these different cultures. Am I right? And
Yes,
not just the culture that's on the ground, but like in Orient Express. I mean, there's people from America, they're from Britain, all that.
trained.
Tell me your thoughts on that, though.
Well,
Is that a good examination of how a detective might do that, or is that a little bit of an outlier?
no, the more cultures you have, the better it is. It's more confusing. So that's an important thing, confuse the reader or watcher. It's otherwise, if you give them the solution at the beginning, you're done. So in a sense, you need to create possibilities, and having different cultures creates that. Now, that's definitely the case of the second book, The Etruscan Princess. While the first one is almost claustrophobic inside the small world of, a question of class, a small world of academia. But the other one, Etruscan Princess, it's Italy. Italy is very multicultural in many ways. It's a very rich culture. The North, the South, different cultures, different people, different history. So even though there may be some common things, but the language is the same that the television and the school keeps on giving. But the reality is there are also 20 dialects that are languages in themselves. So there is that. That's just an expression of different the cultures are, the cuisine. So he's very much fascinated by the differences. So that's one thing. It's not necessarily part of the discovery, but it adds up. It adds up to the physicality, the intellectual stimulus. So where did this come from? He often asks his girlfriend, who knows more, where did this come from? And she's very savvy too, as far as how society works, and points out, well, there was more money here, less money there. She has a sense of how the financial aspects of things influence. And she has it very strongly even in the first one, because that's where they meet. In the first one they meet. And she, in a subtle way, because she cannot do more than subtle, but in a subtle way, she influences his decisions because she knows that the possibilities are there, that person is not. And first, her best friend gets accused, and she no way. So she really helps him with that in a discreet way, and then they get together. So that's. And if I may, I'm going to say romance also, just as cuisine and all that and culture. Romance is another element, and then many of us use. Not only to tell a nice love story, which is always nice, but it's also because it creates another aspect, a more human aspect, the feelings, that the heart that we all have, and the need for a companion, so that's and for a partner in life. So that's also another aspect.
I think so too, particularly when you're doing which amounts to a series, right?
Mm-hmm.
With these characters, you can. I mentioned, I mentioned Poirot and others, but if you think about some of the others, there's not. And I love Sherlock Holmes, but there's not a lot. If you read the actual books, not talk about television and adaptations, mm-hmm. There's not a lot of interior life to these characters, mm-hmm. and they don't seem to grow or change much. Right. Right. And by the time this airs, I will be releasing my 8th book in my series, finishing up my mystery series. And my guy has gone from just this arc. He's lived, he's aged 10 years. He's lived. He's been divorced. He's been remarried. He's had kids. And I think people feel an intimacy with the characters when they are actually getting a view into their intimate lives of the characters. Mm-hmm. So do you find that's happening as you roll out more in your series?
Yes, definitely. I had people reading the second one because the first one came out many years ago, but the publisher disappeared, so I can republish it myself, which that's what I'm doing. But people read the second one, they liked it, and especially women say, so did they know each other from before? Things like that. So yes, and there is another book that you're going to read. and there is the kind of I feel very happy when people ask me questions like that, because it means that once they close the book and it was done, the character stays with them. It has become their friend,
Right.
their imaginary friend, and that's okay. That's totally okay. It's part of us. And
It is.
yeah, and sometimes I've read books that say, yeah, this is beautifully described, but the character went once I closed the book. That was it. I had friends tell me the same thing. In book clubs and things like that. Did it stay with you? No, gone. So, and it's not to say that it wasn't well written. It was beautifully written, but the character was gone. So the character, they have a strong impact. So I'm glad when they say that, it means the character had an impact in their psyche. So
right. Well, one thing I found too is that in my series writing is that I created some secondary characters that people actually enjoyed almost as much or more than the lead character. Mm-hmm. And actually in the third book killed one of them off. And I was very sorry I did that, because here I am on book 8 and I could sure use that guy. And I think you know what I mean as a writer. You're like, oh, it would be so good if he was not dead right now.
Why did I kill him?
Exactly. I thought I was done, silly me.
Yeah, there is resurrection.
Yeah. Well, he has come back in some little silly flashbacky kind of things, but you got to be careful of doing that too much. Readers get a little put out, I think, after a while of that. But no, so it's again, it's the Etruscan Princess that came out originally in 2019, correct?
Yeah, very briefly, it was a publishing disaster. So I just unpublished.
It happens. Yep. You are not, by the way, the first author to come in here and tell me about how these smaller, mid-sized publishers just here one day, gone the next. Or yeah, there's so many horror stories. In fact, I'm trying to I'm thinking like someday I want to do a panel with several authors who've been taken for a ride. It's not their fault, just to talk about that. But anyway, so it's the Etruscan Princess, and the other book is?
Yeah, the Etruscan Princess is currently out and doing okay, doing well, actually. And it came out in January this year. Okay. And it's the definitive edition. It's there, and then this other one will be out. The Equestrian Class, which came out many years ago, and now it's I'm down to 3 copies, so it's time.
Now, is it, I don't know where can, is that it after those 3 copies, or can we find? I don't see it on Amazon. Is my question.
No, it is not on Amazon, because it came out many years ago with Publish America, which was a small publisher, and it basically the publisher disappeared. So they didn't keep it. So there is no way that I can sell it or order it or do anything with it. That's why you don't see it anywhere. Yeah.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought at least maybe you had you have the book. Just would, but you're prohibited from having it, put out again. Is that the deal? Or
no, I can republish it. The deal with them is over. It was a 7-year deal. It's over. It's done. Okay. So I can republish it, no problem. And I am with Amazon. Yeah, I'm doing it myself. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're going to let us know when that's out then.
Yeah, it will be out mid-October. So that yes, and so that way I feel more complete. I have the series is moving. Right. Number 1, number 2, and then I'm working on number 3. So then we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, well, okay, and I'll count on you to send me a link when it's live so I can put it in the show notes for the show. And so, yeah, you just went and anticipated my next question. So you're going to work on some more here. So do you have a number in mind of how many you'll do, or does it depend on how well it sells, or do you think, 3 is good? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I'm told that maybe 5 would be ideal, but I don't know if I have 5. It comes as it comes. I mean, it happens as it happens, but at least 3. Yes, at least 3 I would like to do. And it is more contemporary. The title is Justice Denied, and it's about a case. But at least, I will, go more into that. I had some personal experiences in the courthouse and all that. Not I wasn't accused of anything, but I had to sue someone, and I noticed that basically, the system does not work, and so justice is inevitably denied because of the way it's going. But that's that's all right. These things happen. But anyway, I got some inspiration from that and seeing how that system works and not and does not. And I also all of this during the pandemic, because that has created such grief and such pain and so many problems. What happens if, Fusco works in as a detective, so he's exposed a lot. Then he comes back home to his family, and at this point he's married and has a child. Spoiler. And he's really, as soon as he walks in, he can't even hug his family. He has to go into the shower and wash it off. This is it was the beginning when we were washing every time.
Washing our mail.
Yeah, washing everything. Yeah. So anyway, these are some elements that will be there, the pandemic and the injustice of the justice system. So, but that's,
That's interesting. I decided to bypass it. This one that's coming out this year. I thought about it, but I've kind of done my best to kind of keep my series tangentially in the modern era but I don't make a lot of cultural references or political references. And you know what I'm saying? I just kind of want to keep the reader in that world. Did it occur to you not to use any of that, or did you just like, no, I've got to use this?
I do use society as it is, as I see it, and this is my thing. But and I don't say that it shouldn't be done or it should be done. That's a choice.
Me either, right? Yeah.
Exactly. I don't explicitly promote any political party or anybody. Keep it down that way. But if you read between the lines, you understand.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
How do you not, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's inevitable. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. There's the new Kindle Vella. I don't know if you heard about this. It's episodic serialized fiction, and you can do as many episodes as you want. They call them episodes rather than chapters. And I just came out with, I wanted a palate cleanser, so I wrote a Kindle Vella that's going on right now. In a kind of I never write stuff like this, but it's a post-apocalyptic thing, and it is, of course, after a horrible plague, and that's the backdrop. And I think I selected that, Maria, because I think that's my way as a human being to just try to process everything the past couple of years have brought, and it's been somewhat cathartic.
Good. I look forward to that. I will look into that. We need a little catharsis here.
It's not great literature, but it works for me, and I've had a few readers who have enjoyed it. But the Kindle Vella, that's a fun thing. I recommend it if you're looking for something fun to do like that. Well, in the time we have left, I'd be remiss, and we'll circle back, of course, to your work before we go, but I'd be remiss. I'm a very big Mark Twain fan, and if you're not too sick of Mark Twain, I just had a couple of quick questions about Mark Twain. I just love to get your opinion on a couple of things. I've heard it said that some people believe he is the greatest American writer ever, bar none. Any thoughts on that?
No, I don't agree with that, but he's definitely a good writer, an interesting writer, an interesting thinker. So that's, and some of his books are, absolute masterpieces, like Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Even Tom Sawyer is pretty good. I mean, there are quite a few books of his that are really very, very good, excellent. Some excellent, some very good, some so-so. It's the way it is. I mean, is he the greatest American writer? I don't know about that. I mean, I don't have a category or anything. I like Faulkner. I find him very interesting. Alcohol and everything, and and there are many, and there are many women writers who are really fantastic. Barbara Kingsolver, I love her. I mean, there are many writers that I consider very lasting and have written several masterpieces. So that's
That's fair enough. I just wondered because I I also heard it said, and I wonder if this might be more true, that he's probably the first stand-up comedian
Oh yeah.
United States had. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. It was in many ways a genius. I mean, he started so many things. He had a depth and an ability to try and do things, and a personality was bigger than anything. You know, his personality is in books and in his life, the way he lived his life. He also was very much interested in making money, so very modern from that point of view at a time when it was not usually an interest. People were not that so openly. They were obviously interested. Actually, it was the time of the robber barons. So yes, money was very important, but it was not discussed in polite society, and a lot of his life was the struggle between just making money, making a killing, and yeah, and in many times it was good with that, and at times it was not. It was blinded and made horrific mistakes. He invested in the wrong places, but how do you know that? He was not a professional business person, so he ended up in tremendous money trouble, financial trouble that affected him. I wrote a screenplay, by the way, about Mark Twain. So I've not been able to sell it to Hollywood yet. It's one of those really expensive screenplays that don't you have to have huge connections, which I don't have.
Which, well, I think he's. I think aside from Val Kilmer's recent foray, did you see that ever by any chance? Val Kilmer's Mark Twain performance before Val Kilmer sadly got throat cancer. Did you ever see it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I just watched the documentary of the actor.
I saw Holbrook in theaters, and I talked to him. I made friends with him, actually. Yeah.
We just lost him. Was it last year? Right?
Yeah,
it
was quite old. Yeah.
Was he? He was in his 90s. Yeah. What was he like?
He was like Mark Twain. I must say, I had a clear feeling when I went to see him after a performance. I sneaked in, even though I was not allowed. I just said, "That's it. I wrote the book. I wrote the screenplay. I have a right to go and talk to him more than all these people that paid money to see him." So I went behind the stage and I talked to him, and it was very nice, delightful. And yeah, but besides that, when I talked to him, and he was still with makeup and everything, it was like talking to Mark Twain. It was an incredibly experience. It was Mark Twain. Gave me an appointment there, got inside of it, and started talking to me. It was amazing experience. And then, I gave him my book. I gave him the screenplay. He wrote me a very long letter. Very nice. Yeah. Oh, no, very nice. I must say. So we corresponded for a while. So it was a very lovely man. Yes. And a great actor. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I always loved him. Yeah, he does sound like a lovely man, and that's a legendary performance. Yeah, I saw it. The PBS I saw it years ago. PBS done it, but not in person. So I envy you that. But I'm glad you got to, because you earned it. So, Maria, I really enjoyed this. I think that we've all got some new mystery detective fiction to read in your series here. Tell us, if you would, where to find out more about you and where to buy your books and all that stuff.
Well, you can buy the books easily on Amazon. There is no problem with that. Right now, that's where they are. Locally, bookstores here, yes, they sell it because I'm local. Obviously, I live in Santa Barbara, California, so I've been here a long time. And there have been articles about my life and my books in local newspapers. So I'm not famous, but I know lots of people. Lots of people know me. So and that's so either local bookstores in Santa Barbara, if you're in Santa Barbara, or I would say Amazon, Kindle.
Okay.
They sell it. They sell it a lot.
Right. And you can go to your local, particularly your local independent bookstore wherever you live, listener, and ask for them to order Maria's books. And I didn't get into it. That's my bad. But she also writes these delightful animal-related books, including Memoirs of a Scoundrel Dog.
Yes.
A book for the inner puppy. She oh my goodness!
I'm a micro scholar, so I like to laugh.
It's very evident you do, and I think everybody should check this out. And listeners, just be sure to go to the show notes, and you'll find links. Don't worry about trying to track it down. I've got it all for you at mgopod.com, or you can look in the show notes wherever you get your podcast. But if for some reason you're missing those links, or would you like to see book covers and all the other stuff I put, and the special stuff that you don't get in your feed, but you will get on the show page, please go to mgopod.com. Maria Morotti, I would just love it if you gave us a final word, if you'd like to say to the listeners until you come back.
Well, what I want to say, I want to just add one thing. I have a website. So, author.com. Yeah, right. That's my website.
And it will be in the show notes.
Yes. Thank you very much. Yes. And I just thank you. Thank you, Alex. So that was great. And I even found the link. And so everything is okay.
We were back and forthing earlier because I send a very detailed, probably too detailed email. And she's like, I can't find the link for this damn show. She didn't say damn show. But, and I said, let me go. Oh, scroll down. And there you go. But anyway, I'm going to work on that because I can be a little pedantic about that. Maria Morotti, I have so enjoyed meeting you. You are a delight. I'm looking forward to reading your work. Again, listeners, the book that's out there now, The Etruscan Princess. Then be checking back in October. And remember, you can always do this if you can sign up through, I believe you can sign up through her website, but if you can't, go to Amazon, and when it says when you go to The Etruscan Princess, for example, scroll down and it says follow the author. You follow that, and then you'll get an email from Amazon telling you every time she publishes something new. That is not hard to do. And so do that. And then your other assignments are to buy the book, read the book, and review the book. There you go.
Wonderful.
See, how's that, Maria?
That sounds very good. Reviews are important.
Very important. Very important. Maria Morotti, thanks again so much for joining us here on Mysterious Goings On.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to Mysterious Goings On. Don't forget we have a complete archive of all of our interviews, monologues, updates, live readings, dead readings. All of that stuff is available at mgopod.com. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to us so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the usual suspects. Please join us there. Again, don't forget, mgopod.com also has links where to find me on social media and how to get in touch in case you want to be a guest here on the show. Well, I think it's time that I move on for this week, but until next time, keep reading.